Alright, hello rapier fighters. I'm going to be giving you some exercises to do at home with a rapier. Focus primarily on mechanics. I'm going to use the stick as a stand-in for a sword, mostly so that we have space. When you practice by yourself, you've got to be watchful of your form. It's easy for it to fall apart because there's no one watching you. If you have a mirror, it's a great way to diagnose your stance and diagnose your form. If you don't, you can always make a video and send it over to us and we can help you out. We'll be checking the Discord channel quite often, so that is one place to get some feedback. So I'll start from the ground up, as it's usually better to. If anything below breaks down, everything above is going to be a little bit wobbly. So starting with my feet, you can see my feet on the low camera. I believe it's going to be right over here. I make a nice little L with my feet, and you can step forward, you can step back. Typically for martial purposes, there's someone in front of me, I want to step away from them. So I take one step, it's about 1 foot length away, 2 steps, and if I can, I'll take a third step back. Move myself a little bit forward so that you can see my body. I'll do that again. I'm simply stepping back into my guard. So from here, I have my weight centered. I'm going to shift my weight to my back leg and make sure that I rotate my knees out. So I talked about that on the previous videos. We're going to enforce that again. I really think about taking my knees and pulling it out so that I'm touching a plexiglass sheet outside of my knee on both sides. So having that engaged, what it'll do to your hips, it'll actually put the hips into place. So if I'm facing the camera as I do this, and hopefully you can see my hips without a problem, I make a nice little L with my feet. I take a step back and I rotate my knees out. It pulls my pelvis in so that it's not poking out. Puts it in a nice, stable, strong position. Good warm up. Shift your weight to the front leg, shift your weight to the back leg. And make sure that your pelvis stays where it's supposed to stay. Making sure that it's not going out. This really shouldn't be any rotation of the hips. If I were to put a stick right here, just as a gauge, and I have my hands on my hip bones, as I move forward, the stick shouldn't really move in relationship to my hips. I do it sideways, same idea. I just have it facing forward. Can't really see it because of the perspective, but I guess you'll have to take my word for it. It's not really moving. Warming up your legs, that's a nice way to just get the legs going back and forth. Doing this, say, for 30 seconds, a minute, or just get your legs warm up. Do it on the other side. Let's add upper body to that. So we have a nice little L shape with your feet. You take a step back. The weight is in your back leg. Let's actually, nope, we'll still do transferring just with the hips, making sure it's going forward. From here, just with the arm, you can extend the arm, you can extend the hip forward. I'm actually going to hold the stick just for now, just for illustration purposes, but you can really think about extending the shoulders forward, bringing the shoulders back, extending the shoulders forward, bringing the shoulders back. Ideally, your hips don't shoot back, your legs don't move at all. You should be able to move shoulders back and forth without shifting the legs. So if I do it towards the camera, same idea here. My legs are in a nice stable position. I can move the shoulders, and just the shoulders in isolation. Easy things to do here is, especially if you're thinking about a guard, is trying to rotate and kind of the glutes will shoot out. It's something you want to avoid. You want to make sure that just the shoulders move forward. We'll get back to that in a second. Let's take a little detour into hand. Since we're going from the foot upwards, I've done the feet, I've done the hips, I've done the shoulders, let's look at the arms, specifically the hands. Holding on to your sword. So, I want to engage the base of the pointer finger, right here, and the bottom of my heel. So there's a line that creates, and what I'm doing here is, I'm wrapping my hand around there. You could hold a stick, for instance, at a 90-degree angle. This is great for a stick, not so great for a sword. You want to have this 45-degree angle from the horizontal for optimal rapier positioning. Obviously with a stick, not as great, but this is essentially the engagement you want to create. Now, when I create that engagement, you can see it front on, that I'm actually holding the sword front, or the stick, from the top and not from the side. Really think about wrapping the hands around there. That'll create great heel of the hand engagement, but also put your weapon in alignment with the bones of your body, with the bones of your arm. So that way you can exert downward pressure much more easily. It's biomechanically optimal. So, keeping this in mind, you have a nice hand position. I can still create my secondas, my quartas, my primas, keeping this in mind. I simply rotate from the forearm. A little bit of the wrist, a little bit of the forearm. I can go palm up, I can come palm down. So right away, if I do this neutrally, if I rotate my hand without lifting the rest of my arm, my point drifts from one side to the other. I really need to extend the hand up. There's a little bit of wrist motion as I rotate out, but I'm still creating the same sort of alignment. As I go into my quarta, I point a little bit more forward. My arm drifts off in front of my opposite shoulder so that the point is not pointed to the middle, it's pointed forward, maintaining that same hand alignment. If you have any more questions about those grips, feel free to ask us. Everyone will have a slightly different grip, so this is just something for you to keep in mind. You're trying to maintain that sort of optimal heel to weapon alignment with a little bit of play. Let's put it back into our form. Make a nice little L shape. Take your step back. Your hips, your legs are in a nice stable position. You can lift up your arm. You have already the grip of the weapon. Your elbow is going to be about 1 fist length away from your ribs. Notice that it's not up or down. It's really placed it against your ribs and push it out. That puts it in the right position. There's a little bit of give that you can have here, depending on what your opponent's sword is doing, but for now, this is where it's going to be. Offhand by your face. So, focusing on the mechanics without just doing fixed footer lunges. Move the sword, move the shoulders, the legs haven't moved. You can do a fixed footer lunge from here. Flare out your hand if you want. Come back. Reverse order. Weapon, shoulders, legs, shoulders, weapon. And focusing first on crispness. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Will help you practice this more effectively. Do a bunch of repetitions of this. Say, put a 2-minute timer, 1-minute timer. Do it all right-handed and do it all left-handed. Starting from nice little L shape. Take a step back. Sword comes up. Often in the right place. Hands in the right place. Sword, shoulders, legs, shoulders, sword. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Towards the camera. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. It'll give you a lot to think about as you do your exercises. Always come back to this. Think about your form before you jump into trying to do something fast or something super athletic. This is a great way to just make sure that you're doing the best you can to maintain your form without direct feedback from other fencers or other instructors.